Hello, welcome to the West Ham Way YouTube. Myself, Mark Carlow, and Riley Finch. Riley, mate, 2 undefeated Chelsea, which was gutting. And let's be honest, the whole game has been overshadowed by the VAR controversy. Max Cornet's equaliser was, let's be honest, wrongly ruled out. I'm quite appalled, really, by the whole saga. I can't believe how bad that decision was. I mean, VAR is becoming quite a tiresome subject now in football. But this feels, I don't know, like, would you say this is the worst we've ever seen in terms of, decision making from the officials?
Well, look, mate, listen, before we get into all that, there's something we've got to address. Football is more than a game sometimes. And I just want to wish my condolences to Edouard Mendy. I hope he has a very speedy recovery. Obviously, at this point, we don't know how serious the injury is. Judging by the foul, I mean, it does look like he might be out for a couple of years. But, just want to give my condolences to Edouard Mendy and, speedy recovery, my friend. But, yeah, VAR is in absolute shambles at the moment. I'm not really sure what's going on. I mean, I think I looked at it this weekend. 6 goals were ruled out for offside or a foul or something like that, and 0 goals were awarded. So that it just kind of tells the story of VAR. It feels like it just is there to kind of stop goals, ruin goals, rather than actually, like, there's such an advantage for the defensive teams now. When it's an offside, it feels like it's always on the defensive side. A foul, if there's a slight foul, so if it's a 50-50, it feels like it always goes against the goal rather than for the goal. I just feel like it's more there to take away than it actually is there to give. And that's quite, VAR was more there to kind of overrule the sort of small little niggles in the system. Whereas now it just seems like it's just going way overboard. I mean, we've got the Newcastle one, the West Ham one. And I mean, you can't really say much about the Villa one, but the Villa one as well was just horrendous. I don't know if you saw that one.
Is that the offside?
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't offside, and then they took the goal, but obviously because the ref already blew the whistle. I mean, that just shows as well that VAR is not in the problem. It's just the poor officiating in the country. But I mean, it's probably the worst weekend of VAR we've ever seen, without a doubt.
It's one of those systems, VAR, that and as you say, it's not necessarily the system itself; it's the way it's being used. I'm not really against the system in terms of having it available, because we've always been complaining over the years prior to VAR that, we've got the technology, why aren't we using it? Other sports are using video replays and things like that. And so we always complained and wanted it. The problem is, for me, I thought, and I think everyone else thought, that VAR was going to come in to correct clear and obvious errors on the pitch. I thought that was the only reason, really, it was being brought in. I don't know really what it serves now. It seems to be just a sort of system that's like a witch hunt, desperately trying to find any reason to cancel goals. I don't know. It's morphing into this horrible, bizarre system now. I mean, all right, let's forget the Bowen thing for the moment, and we'll come back to it. But even things like, when they send the referee now over to the monitor, which I think was introduced last season, it's almost comical now on the television. They always say, "Oh, we know what this means. It always means he overturns it." Why does that mean that? Like, that's not the point of that. It's supposed to be that they're saying to the ref, we think something's happened. Can you just go and check what your view of it is? That shouldn't necessarily mean the ref's got to overturn his decision. I just don't understand the point of it. And I mean, there's so many, we could go on about this for ages, but the system needs to change massively. I don't agree with how it's being used. I mean, the offside rule has become a massive problem. It's been an issue for quite some time with VAR, and there were, these bizarre lines they were drawing and taking an hour it felt like an hour to make every decision. But I believe they're looking to get rid of that. I believe that they're looking to bring in this new system of sensors that I believe they're introducing into the Champions League that eventually will come to the Premier League. So that should get rid of that. It's going to be like a goal line technology system. So effectively a watch goes off. We say, yeah, the sensors have shown that you were an offside place. And that will be a big welcome change, I think. And I think that will be a big help. But I don't like the fact that right, this is my argument. Why do they check every goal? Why is it that it's got to be a rule that every time the ball goes in the net, they suddenly have to go, right, let's trawl through all these video footage and find something to rule this goal out? I don't get it. Like, surely it should just be that if it's a clear error, there's a clear and obvious error. We're all looking at it going, hang on, now why does that stand? That guy's clearly offside. Or why has that stood? That was a clear foul over there and he's missed it. But, I mean, that Bowen one, mate, ridiculous. So bad.
I'm glad it wasn't televised, to be honest, because I was just coming in the way back on the car. We were listening to the radio, heard that Havertz has scored, and I thought, oh, for Christ's sake. Then the radio sort of cut out, and then 10 seconds later, West Ham at the back of the net, Cornet. And then we're like, oh, brilliant, celebration. And then oh, but and all the commentators were going, yeah, it's not going to be a foul. So, and I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, he's gone over to the monitor, and then you think, well, that's it. That's case in point. There's no point even, if they say to them, go to the monitor, you might as well just say, rule it out. I just don't see the point. I mean, the fact that, Souness has been on TalkSport, he reckoned it was a foul. And obviously Tuchel, who's completely unbiased, reckons it was a foul as well.
I mean, and I mean, there's so many arguments here. There's so many points to this. If we look at that decision, firstly, my first one is right. So they're looking at and they're suggesting, and all they are saying that Bowen's fouled the goalkeeper, and then they're looking at he's looking at it, and then he's basically just looking at a clip, and then really slow motion of Bowen's foot touching the goalkeeper. But that's the equivalent of you walking down the street and your bag touching somebody else as you walk past them, and you getting arrested for assault. And they go, well, you go, no, but and they go, hang on a minute, let's just check the replay. Hang on, let's check the CCTV. Oh yeah, look, your bag does clip them. It's assault. It's irrelevant if your bag clips them. It's just a mistake.
Even if he did though, like the keeper's already palmed the ball out of play. Like before Bowen even made contact with him, the keeper had already made an error and palmed the ball out of the way. And let's be honest, if Mendy was genuinely seriously hurt and thought there was a goal that he could get up and save it, do you honestly think he's going to sit there and roll around the ground? Mendy knew that he wasn't going to get to the ball, so he thought the best case here is just roll around. If that goalkeeper thought to himself, there's a chance I can get back up and save this goal, he would not have rolled around on the floor like that. He thought
or if he'd palmed the ball out and had gone to a defender and cleared it.
Yeah,
you think he'd have
there's no way.
He was never hurt. There was nothing wrong.
But another question I have is, let's say the referee does say that's a foul on Bowen. A foul on Mendy, sorry. Do you think VAR is going to review it and go, hold on, do you think it is a foul on Mendy and take 10 minutes to review it? Because I think if the referee views it as a foul on Bowen instantly, I don't even think VAR checks that. And for it to be such a 50-50 call, why the other way around would it not be checked? Because I don't know what your thought is, mate, but, foul on Mendy, last minute, goal disallowed. I honestly do not think VAR checks that. I really don't.
Absolutely.
Not to the same degree, at least.
I agree, mate. It wasn't a foul. They wouldn't check it. And then there's the other argument, and we're going to get a lot of criticism here, especially if Chelsea fans are watching. Are you telling me if that had happened at the other end, if Mason Mount had touched Fabianski, that they would have ruled that goal out if it had been Chelsea 2-2 and they got a last-minute equaliser? Never in a million years. I'm sorry. I don't care what anyone says. They never would have ruled that out. They ruled that out because it's West Ham versus Chelsea, and they are hunting for a decision to help this team. I don't care what anyone says. And people will say, well, yeah, you're going to say that. That's conspiracy theory. I don't think it is a conspiracy theory anymore. It's too obvious every week. The favours that lean for these big clubs are a joke. Like, they are literally desperate for them to get points. It's obvious. And they've ruled that out there. And it's the worst I've ever seen. And I'm still seething over it. I just can't get over that referee went to monitor and deemed that a foul. I just can't believe it.
I think a bolder thing, mate. I actually think the Crystal Palace Newcastle one was even worse. I mean, Tyreek Mitchell literally pushes arguably fouls. I can't remember who headed the ball. I think it was Tyreek Mitchell. Joe Willock, sorry. Tyreek Mitchell pushes Joe Willock into the goalkeeper, and then the ball's in the back of the net, and they deem it to be Joe Willock fouling him. I mean, he's literally pushed like goalkeepers are way too protected in this day and age as well.
On the Newcastle player, it's ridiculous.
He pushed him.
I mean,
it's the worst one I've seen.
I mean that was really bad, and obviously then you had the Coutinho goal ruled out as well, which was just another horrendous decision.
But I think that's more about the officials, though, isn't it? The officials.
I'm not going to go. I don't get me wrong. This isn't a pop at VAR too much today. I don't hate the technology. I don't really hate it, and I get why they brought it in, and I get why they want to stick by it. I'm not saying scrap it altogether, although part of me kind of wishes it was. But let's be realistic. If it went back the other way and they went, oh yeah, we're going to get rid of VAR altogether, we'd all be within a few weeks going, oh bloody hell. We need the VAR now because you'd have seen that, and so I don't think we want to be going backwards necessarily. But this system needs changing and fast. I mean, that was the next thing that I wanted to ask you, mate. Was I'm probably going to put you on the spot a little bit with this because I've got a few ideas in terms of how you improve VAR and how you improve officiating in this league, because it needs changing. Something's not right. This is the biggest sport in the world, realistically. Especially definitely within this country in Europe, the biggest sport. And we don't have this with other sports. You don't have this every week with constant controversies with bad decision making. I appreciate that it's, not everyone's perfect. There are going to be errors. I'm not saying that we should have a sport where there's never any ever issues and it's always 100% perfect. I appreciate it's going to be very hard to do, but some of these decisions are horrendous. I mean, they are being made by people that clearly haven't got a clue about football, don't understand the game at all. I just think the whole thing needs to change. I mean, what I quite like about this, the only good thing that's coming out of this, it feels like that because the situation was so bad this weekend with the calls, it's almost like we've got to strike while the iron's hot. Like everyone's on this now, and I think there needs to be some significant change. So, do you have anything in mind that you think, I wish that could happen or be introduced?
Well, I mean, they say get ex-players involved, but if you're going to tell me Graham Souness, an ex-player at the elite level, is going to tell me that that's a foul on Bowen, then I don't see the point in that either.
Graham Souness would have agreed with that if it had been Mo Salah, and that had been Liverpool being denied a 2-2 draw.
You see Graham Souness back in his days. He's the worst person to talk about 6 studs. He probably stuck 7 on there just to chuck in some challenges. I mean, the guy used to put in 2-foot challenges and just go studs up all the time. But I mean, that's
the earliest players of the game, and then he's deeming that a foul. I mean.
The only argument,
I genuinely think it's clickbait for them. It's typical.
Oh, it's got to be, yeah. But the only thing for me, maybe, I mean, the thing is, you can't really fix a broken system. So if I say something along the lines of, I think it should be like in tennis, where the goalkeeper makes a call and you get to call it, and if you call it and it's correct, then you keep your 3 calls, and if it's wrong, you lose 2. Then I think you could give that to the captain, and it would also eliminate the idea of everyone crowding the referee. Because it's like, well, if you want me to check it, I'll check it, but if it's wrong, it's wrong. So I think that would be a good idea. But then, if all the Chelsea players say, "Oh, check the Bowen foul," and we just get the same result, and that's just that doesn't fix the problem. So I'm just what I'm really confused about is how is PGMO going to come out and say, "Oh yeah, those 2 decisions were wrong"? It's like, well, you're the same people who put that decision in place, so it doesn't make any sense. How is the governing body that have told us it's a foul then come out and said, "Oh, actually, it's not a foul"? Surely, surely there's enough referees and enough expertise for them to actually say, "Oh, actually, no, we actually still do believe it is a foul because of this, this, and that." How is there that much of a contrast between the body and the referees on the pitch, like making the decision? How can there be that much of a contrast? It makes no sense. It's like the police wouldn't do that. The police wouldn't come out and say, "Oh yeah, the police officer was absolutely like incorrect to do that, even though it is within the law." Like,
I agree.
It doesn't make sense.
And you're right. I mean, the problem is with the system is that because the reason why goal line technology works is because it removes the human error. It removes it. Although I know there was a cock up once, long ago with that system breaking down, but there's a park in that. Ultimately, it works very well, and it's just a system of technology. Bang, the watch vibrates. We know it's a goal. We move on, and there's no arguing. There's no players argue. They just go, "Yeah, fair enough. It went over the line. Move on." And the problem is with VAR is it will go well and great having technology, but you've still got a Pratt sitting behind a screen making a human decision and going. And then that's where I think that I've got to be really careful with words. It's not necessarily corruption, but that's where you can easily get things that are not going fairly. Where you can easily go, "Well, yeah, let's rule that one out. Yeah, we'll say that was a foul." It can easily happen because that's what we try to eliminate. And unfortunately, VAR is not doing that because you've still got the same people involved. For me, I actually think you made a good suggestion, and it's one that I was going to say myself. I think VAR shouldn't be looking at every goal. I don't know why they do. I don't think that's any point in that. It'd bring back the joy of football again. I think the only reason you could use it is a call from the bench, from the management to say, and they should get given 2 calls a match, maybe 1 each half, possibly, or maybe or 2 a whole match or something like that between each football club. And during the match, if they deem it, they think, "Hang on, we want you to check that. We think we've seen something we don't know we're not happy with, or we think so." Then VAR can step in and have a quick look. And also as well, I think that, like you said, I think as well, the game or the officials do need ex-players involved. They need people that understand football, that can watch it and go, no, I've looked at it. You can't deem that a foul. Because the problem is with these people, they seem to just be like rule book obsessed people. Do you know what I mean? They're looking at screens and going, "Hang on, it says here in section F, B, if there's contact. Well, hang on a minute. Look, look, his toenail touched him. That's a foul." But that's not right, and that's what I think the problem is. Like they're looking at things too sort of subjective. They're not looking at it properly as a sport. They're not looking at the actual situation, looking at it in real time and going, "Yeah, I mean, touched him. It's not a foul." And I think that needs to happen. But I don't know, mate. I mean, it's so bad at the moment, and it kind of, and the sad thing about it means I'm losing faith in the sport. I mean, you kind of get that feeling now of like there's always that dread behind back in your mind now. Like I have it every match now. If I thought, we're going into, we've got Thursday night, we've got Newcastle Sunday. Newcastle will be in a massive game now, must win. And you've got this horrible feeling lingering in the back of your mind, thinking, "Oh, I hope we don't get screwed over again by VAR."
I mean,
we score now.
Ben Rama.
Hey, sorry.
Let's not forget the Ben Rama goal as well that was disallowed by VAR. I mean, I don't even think a Nottingham Forest player appealed for it, and it still got sort of checked over and argued about. I mean, look, if I'm going to play devil's advocate here, there is part of me that feels a little bit sorry for the referees in the sense that it's subjective. What one person might think is a foul, maybe another person doesn't. Like I say, Graham Souness has played at the absolute elite level of English football, and he still thinks that's a foul. Yes, the majority of other people do think it's a foul, but don't think it's a foul. Sorry, but because it's all subjective. Even offside is subjective to some people. So I do feel a little bit sorry for them in the sense that they'll be sitting there saying, "Well, everyone in the studio's told me it's a foul, and then you got these players saying it's a foul and all this other stuff." But the quality. I mean, even Chelsea fans, whether biased or not, seem to think it is a foul. Whether a West Ham fan would think that it's a foul if it was the other way around, I'm honestly not sure. But I do, it is subjective, so it's going to be a very hard. I don't think we'll ever really take out the human error of VAR ever, simply because you can get as many experts in as you want, and these referees are supposedly experts, the best referees in the world supposedly. But at the end of the day, it's quite difficult to categorically say that's a foul, or that's a red card, or that's a yellow card, because it's all subjective. So whether it's the rules that need a read as well, I mean, I'm not sure.
It's tough. You're right. I mean, it is tough, and that is the issue, isn't it? That ultimately it comes down to a human being making a decision, and rightly or wrongly, let's take away subjective, the idea that they're biased or in any way to matches. Let's just say they're not, and they are just calling it as they see it and fairly. Then you're right. I mean, so what I might seem as a foul, you'd say no, it isn't. So you're right. You're always going to have that issue. Although one thing I think that needs to change with the whole officiating system in football is the accountability, where there seems to be none. Like, why isn't the referee coming out immediately after the game like a manager and explaining why the decision was made? Why aren't we hearing the conversation between the VAR headquarters, wherever that is, and the referee? Why aren't we hearing what's being said? Because then we might get a little bit of an understanding of it. Then we might be a little bit more sympathetic, because they might say something along, let's just say, the Bowen challenge. He might say, look, I've looked at it. His studs are up though. His studs are actually touching the player. I'm afraid I'm going to have to deem it a foul. I don't think it's intentional, but because his studs are, at least then us fans would go, oh, I don't agree with that, but I see what he's done, the decision. I can understand the decision. The fact that we're not hearing that conversation and they seem to just stroll off into the sunset every week, and we're all there baffling. And I know that they've come out and apologised, but so bloody what? I mean, who gives a shit? It's too late, and we don't care. Like, we don't keep hearing them say, "Oh yeah, it was wrong." It's like, well, where's our point then? And another thing as well that brings me to it is, do we bring in a system where they can retrospectively give points back to teams? And I mean, let's be honest, they do it to players. If players have been caught, they've done, committed a violent offence on the pitch, the ref missed, they get a retrospective ban. So why don't we get a point back? Why don't they come back and say, no, we've looked at it, that was a fair goal, we're that wrong, we're really sorry, here's your point, West Ham. I'm not necessarily saying take away the free from Chelsea, because they might say, well, that's completely knocking the system out, we're going to change the scoreline, but at least give West Ham a point and say, look, we're going to give you a point as compensation, as a kind of say, look, I think that would be a fairer way.
Well, they're happy to dock points, aren't they? Like, we've seen teams like Derby harshly relegated from the league. Wigan, we've seen these teams docked really harsh points. I mean, some people will moan about it. Some people will say, well, why did West Ham deserve a point? And it's even more difficult when you look at the Newcastle game, because you say, well, if Newcastle were 1-0 up, who's to say they would have got 3 points? Who's to say they would have got 1 point? You don't give Newcastle 3 points because they should have had a goal against Palace. So it's very difficult. But in our case, you can certainly say, with seconds to go, that goal secures us a point. And if you're saying it's wrong, then, why shouldn't we be deserved something? At the very least, you're not going to give us sort of retribution. You need to put sanctions on the referees, ban him for 2 matches, or, fine him or something. Because if he's made an error, then, intentional or not, that's your job. You're literally being told by the officiating body, you've done your job wrong. And it's costing, it's costing people out their bets. It's costing, about hard work. It's It's really tough.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and the money in this game is huge, and the rewards are massive. It's a big decisions they're making, and they can't keep getting them wrong. And the fact they've got it so wrong is so bad. I mean, we go on about this for such a long time, and I think it's going to be a debate that's going to roll on for quite some time. But something needs to change and change quickly. And I mean, they definitely need to start addressing how this is dealt with, because, as I say, it's never going to be perfect, and I don't think we really want it to be perfect in a weird way, because. I know it sounds ridiculous, but in a weird way, because it's kind of part of the game a little bit. It kind of creates a little bit of controversy. I don't think we expect it to be like, we don't want it to be a robotic game where there's just no human involved, and it's just like, I don't think we really necessarily want to go down that route. But the fact when they're making these terribly bad decisions that are so harsh, and then they just, and that's it now. Because at the end of the day, we've been shat on here. We've lost a point, or the deserved point, and let's be honest, a massive point that would have been for us against a big side away from home. And we're going to get nothing out of this. Like, whatever comes of it, we're not going to get given a point. We're not going to get given any compensation. The best we're going to get is just an apology, and that's it. And I just don't think that's right. Like, it doesn't seem fair, but yeah, it's gutting, mate. Really gutting. Just quickly then, before we go wrap this up then, in terms of the match itself, was you pleased with the West Ham performance?
I was pleased in pieces. I think, look, we gave Chelsea possession, we gave them the ball, we let them sort of come to us. And I think, when we gave them the ball, they didn't really do a lot with it. So we were quite happy to just kind of laze about in the match and just sort of play our game, play on the counter. Yeah. I thought Paqueta looks like our missing piece at the moment. We've got someone like Tilo who's really good at distributing the ball to the midfield, but often it just sort of seems we're quite stagnant at putting it forward into the attackers. And it just seems like he's that missing piece that's going to like run around the pitch. I mean, the guy's got an engine on him as well. Like, he doesn't stop running. I'd love to see his the actual kilometres he covered, but I think he had a really good game. I think Bowen, for me, has got to be dropped. He had another disappointing performance. Cornet came on. I mean, we haven't even spoken about it yet as well. Prior to their goal, Cornet hit the post. So it feels like a really unlucky day for us. I don't think anyone really deserved to win the game. Probably a draw would have been a fair result. I mean, Fabianski's error for the Chilwell goal as well was just so frustrating. But I think we've shaken off the cobwebs of the early season. We've got a lot of players in at the moment. We look like we're going to be, back to our best sort of. I think, the real test will be this sort of Thursday if we can keep that momentum going in, and then sort of going into Newcastle as well, who are in really good form. But we've got a lot of injuries. We're not the same team that we were. Got a lot of new incomings in, but I'm very proud, man. I'm very happy with the performance so far, and I'm definitely not as worried as I once was when we're sort of 3 games in, sort of looking 6 games in.
I agree. I don't think there's anything to be worrying about. I mean, I think 6 games into the season, yes, we're obviously 18th. We don't want to be there, and 4 points from 6 is poor. But considering the fact who we've played, Man City, we've had Chelsea, Tottenham, and let's be honest, we've been robbed some points here. I think on another day we'd have beaten Forest. I think another day we'd have beaten Tottenham. On another day we'd have got a point at Chelsea, and we'd have probably been sitting comfortably in the top 6 or 7 now. But we're not, so we'd have to just dust ourselves off. As you say, I think it's now crunch time for West Ham. We need to get some results, and I'm confident we will. To be honest, I thought we played really well at Chelsea at spells. I thought we were very, very harshly done there by the officials, but it is what it is, mate. But onwards and upwards.
Absolutely, mate. I'm definitely looking forward to the rest of the season, and it's exciting times.
It is indeed. Thanks for watching, everyone. Cheers.